They were sent to Washington to serve you. Instead, many served themselves, trading on secrets, dodging accountability, and writing laws that exempt them from consequences. This is the story of how Congress lost its way and how everyday Americans can take it back. Members of Congress demonstrate contempt for U.S. citizens not through one single act, but through a pattern of prioritizing personal gain, partisan optics, and special interests over the public good. Lawmakers routinely buy and sell stocks immediately after receiving confidential congressional briefings. Many violate the Stock Act by failing to report their trades on time. Others accept luxury trips funded by special interest groups. Lawmakers vote on massive omnibus spending bills compiled hours before the deadline. Bills no human being could possibly have read. They weaponize government shutdowns, risking federal worker paychecks. They dodge town halls, replacing open forums with pre-screened telephone calls. They gerrymander districts to choose their voters before their voters choose them. And they refuse to pass term limits despite overwhelming public support. Hearings become viral content factories. Divisive rhetoric is manufactured to spark outrage. And that outrage gets monetized into campaign donations. And perhaps worst of all, Congress frequently writes loopholes that exempt its own offices. From the workplace, healthcare, and ethics regulations imposed on every other American. The Stock Act of 2012 was supposed to stop insider trading among lawmakers. It required them to disclose stock transactions within 45 days. But weak enforcement turned the law into a paper tiger. In early 2020, senators received closed-door briefings about the coming pandemic. Senator Richard Burr sold off up to $1.7 million in stocks, dumping hospitality shares, while buying into pharmaceuticals and remote work companies weeks before the public market crash. Representative Mike Kelly's wife purchased up to $50,000 in a steel manufacturing company. Just one day after Kelly received a confidential committee briefing about upcoming steel tariffs. The stock later gained 300%. Senator Tommy Tuberville failed to report nearly 130 separate stock trades on time. Late disclosures have spanned both parties, including the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. Why does this continue? Because the penalty for a late report is a nominal $200 fine, frequently waived behind closed doors by ethics committees, a meaningless slap on the wrist compared to multi-million-dollar trades. Public pressure has finally forced movement. A wave of new bills aims to ban members from playing the stock market entirely. The End Congressional Stock Trading Act, H.R. 1908, prohibits stock trading and ownership by members, spouses, and dependent children. The Stop Insider Trading Act, a bipartisan bill banning stock purchases and mandating a 7-day public notice before any sale. The Trust in Congress Act forces lawmakers to place investments into a qualified blind trust for their entire tenure. The No Getting Rich in Congress Act bundles a trading ban with prohibitions on corporate board service and foreign lobbying. The Senate has already unanimously banned senators and their staff from betting on prediction markets. Leadership from both parties has now openly aligned on a broader trading ban. Progress is possible, but only when the public demands it. When ordinary Americans break the law, we face judges. When politicians break the law, they often face nothing. Former Representative Matt Gaetz was under intensive House ethics investigation for serious allegations. Right before the committee released its damning report, he resigned. The committee immediately lost jurisdiction. Punishment, 0. In 2025, the Senate Select Committee on Ethics processed 181 alleged rules violations. Of those, 150 were dismissed outright. The rest closed in preliminary inquiry without a single public letter of admonition. The committee has not issued a single formal disciplinary sanction in nearly 20 years. In 1992, Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger and 5 Reagan officials were indicted on felony charges over Iran-Contra. Before Weinberger could stand trial, President George H.W. Bush pardoned them all. No prison, no fines, no trial. Lawmakers convicted of campaign finance fraud, tax evasion, or bribery still keep their taxpayer-funded congressional pensions. Pension forfeiture is reserved only for treason and espionage. Corrupt politicians can serve prison time and still retire on your dime. Beyond the headlines, politicians quietly disregard the very laws meant to keep them transparent. Officials conduct public business on Signal and WhatsApp with disappearing messages, destroying records mandated under the Federal Records Act. Lawmakers bypass personal use restrictions by routing millions through leadership PACs, funding resort stays, five-star dinners, and country club memberships. When members of Congress receive subpoenas from peers, they routinely refuse to comply, exempting themselves from the same oversight they impose on citizens. Disclosure violations are quietly dismissed by ethics committees staffed by sitting politicians who protect their own. And where is the media, the so-called watchdog of democracy? Too often, it has become complicit. Reporters who expose corruption lose their sources, so they soften coverage to preserve access. Documented illegal acts get framed as just another perspective, diluting public outrage. Scandals are covered through the lens of polling and re-election odds, not the illegality of the act itself. Manufactured drama drives clicks. Complex investigations don't. A handful of billionaires and private equity firms own the networks and share the same financial interests as the politicians they cover. But here is the truth they don't want you to know. You are not powerless. The Constitution and federal law grant ordinary citizens powerful, lawful tools to fight back. Under the False Claims Act, any citizen can sue politicians or contractors who defraud taxpayers. If successful, you can collect 15% to 30% of recovered damages. Many state and local charters allow residents to gather signatures and force an independent state auditor to investigate. The politician cannot block it. In 24 U.S. states, citizens can write, propose, and pass laws directly, completely bypassing the legislature. Ethics reforms, term limits, anti-corruption laws, you can put them on the ballot yourselves. The Freedom of Information Act compels officials to hand over emails, calendars, and expense records. Citizens can claim a public interest fee waiver, receiving thousands of pages of government data for free, if they intend to share it publicly. Unlike the partisan ethics committees, the OCE is independent and non-partisan. Any citizen can submit a sworn complaint, and the OCE is legally required to review credible submissions and publish their findings. The founders never intended for citizens to be spectators in their own democracy. The ultimate authority resides in the people alone. James Madison. To remain silent when they should protest makes cowards of men. Abraham Lincoln. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Margaret Mead. The office of government is to be the servant of the people, not their master. Theodore Roosevelt, 1910. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president. Theodore Roosevelt, 1918. The corruption is real, the loopholes are wide, the complicity is deep. But the power, the ultimate power, still resides where it always has, with you. File a FOIA request, sign a petition, demand an audit, run for office. The Republic is yours if you can keep it.